I'm Amanda Leitner, and welcome to Rochester Rising, where we amplify the stories of Rochester entrepreneurs. Welcome to episode 219 of the podcast. So welcome to the podcast today. Here at Rochester Rising, we tell the stories of entrepreneurs and small business owners within the city of Rochester, Minnesota. These include the stories of new entrepreneurs and very seasoned business owners to really understand how and why they built their business in the community and what drives them to be entrepreneurs. We release a new podcast every Wednesday. You can connect with the podcast on our website at rochesterrising.org, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and really wherever you like to listen into podcasts. This podcast is there, so check it out. Each Thursday, we release a short story based on the podcast, focus on a few key points that were discussed. You can find articles like this on our website as well, including many other stories of Rochester entrepreneurs. Rochester Rising is the storytelling arm of Collider. Collider is a Rochester-based nonprofit that supports Rochester entrepreneurs and works toward a community with zero barriers to entrepreneurship. You can learn more about Collider and what that organization does for the Rochester entrepreneurial ecosystem at collider.mn. So today on the podcast, I got to chat over Zoom with local businesswoman Dr. Abby Splittstoeser, co-owner and co-founder of Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness. Dr. Abby is a native of St. Cloud, Minnesota, and she met her current business partner, Dr. Beth McVey, while in chiropractic school. In 2012, this pair of women co-purchased a pre-existing chiropractic business in Rochester and transformed that business into what is now Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness. Today, I have a great conversation to share with you with Dr. Abby, talking more about her business, finding a co-founder, purchasing a pre-existing business, connecting with your customer base, growing your team, and much more. So with that, we'll jump right into the podcast today with Dr. Abby Splittstoeser and Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness. Well, yeah, thanks so much for doing this today. Appreciate your time. So yeah, I just wanted to start kind of having you introduce yourself and share maybe a few things you like to do outside of work. What are some of your interests?
I am Dr. Abby Splittstoeser, and I am a pediatric and family chiropractor. I am also a mom of 3. We live on 5 acres on the outskirts of Manorville. So I fill my time with lots of things outdoors. We have a big garden. So in the summer, we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff. We're also DIYers. So right now we're remodeling a bathroom. It's really fun. And I like to take pictures too, do some little photography, very basic skills, but have fun with it.
Super cool. It's almost garden planning time, at least, not planting time.
You're right. We have some seedlings going in our basement, which is kind of fun to watch. We have a pretty decent sized garden, and so we kind of rotate things around. So last Saturday, when it was really nice, we were planning where things were going to go arrangement wise. And then, we got a nice dousing of snow a few days later, but
yeah,
all good.
Yeah. It's always like that false hope. I do that every year. I don't have much space to start seedlings, so I try not to start until April because it gets like way too overwhelming.
Yes.
But yeah, super cool. Are you originally from Rochester? And if not, how did you get here?
I am not originally from here. I am from St. Cloud, so a few hours north. My husband grew up in Casson, and long story short, we were deciding where we wanted to move and open up and start a practice when I was finishing chiropractic school, and searched through a handful of cities that we would be willing to move to and raise a family. And Rochester was at the top of that list. Being near family was important. And so we found ourselves here.
So we wanted to talk about your business, Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness. But I think before kind of jumping into that, can you talk about how did you originally get interested in chiropractic and wellness? What was kind of your journey there, and how did you get into it? I understand you have a degree in chemistry and biology from University of Duluth. So how did you start? How did you get interested and kind of transition into this?
Well, I definitely did not grow up with chiropractic care. In fact, it wasn't even on my radar until I was nearing the end of high school. I was in a really bad car accident that, long story, got me to having a lot of really bad headaches. And there was a chiropractor at the church we attended at the time, my family and I attended, and he said that I really feel like I can help you, and took me on as a patient. And at that point in my life, I really wanted to be a pediatrician. And that's what I had already committed to UMD. And that's kind of where my interest with the biology chemistry aspect of things was. But during this time of being under chiropractic care as a patient, this chiropractor really did his due diligence in teaching me about chiropractic, the philosophy behind it, how my body works, and all of that kind of thing, and really shifted how I viewed health. And I just felt compelled after a few months, like I need to shift gears, and really wanted to be a chiropractor myself. So I went to UMD, finished my 4-year degree in 3.5 years, and then went right off to chiropractic school after that. And I haven't looked back.
So, yeah, I feel like, you saw, your pain relieved from this. So I think that makes a whole lot of sense. A lot of the times with, people building businesses, you really have to tap into like what you're solving for people. And then it was really clear to you because you experienced it. So,
Right.
It's easy to connect after that and see, the immense value that a business can offer.
Right. And the more I learned about chiropractic itself, the more I realized I could tie in what really drew me to being a pediatrician and working with kids. I could do both. And I really liked that aspect.
Can you share a little bit about kind of like high level, what is Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness? Like, I want to talk more about how it started, but just to give people an overview first, what is it and what services do you offer through the practice?
So in chiropractic school, I met my business partner, Dr. Beth McVey, and we decided that we wanted to go into business together and create this Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness. So our real big basis of service that we offer is chiropractic care, really kind of niched down to the prenatal and postnatal population, especially kids, but in general, family wellness. We really feel like families under chiropractic care are the healthiest, happiest families. And we just want to provide that for our community.
I wanted to dial back in a little bit. So you met your co-founder, Dr. Beth McVey, during school. And I think a lot of people, when they're starting their businesses, they're looking for co-founders and don't know where to find them. And it's usually someone you already know. So Can you talk about like, how did that kind of relationship develop? And what did the conversation look like between you two when you were like, we're going to go into business together? What did that look like?
So when we were in school together, we were in a couple of internships together at the same time. So, really learning more about each other and what we wanted to do after school. At that point, it was not that we were going to do things together, but the more we discovered how each of us wanted life to look like once school was done, the more we realized that doing it together would create an even bigger effect and an even bigger impact. Kind of a twist on the story is that both of us became pregnant or had kids by the end of chiropractic school. So doing it together also allowed us to be moms and business owners at the same time, and not needing to be here physically in the office 100% of the time in order for it to be open, if you will. Our schedules have pretty much always mirrored each other since the start.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. So important to find somebody that kind of complements what you have to offer. It's so funny. I was listening to a podcast last night, and oddly, I don't listen to too many podcasts, but it was talking about, and I can't remember their names, but the women behind Rodan and Field. So one of their last names is Rodan and one of the last names is Field. And they actually had started Proactive, which I had no idea until I listened to that podcast. But they were talking about, this was on like Wall Street Journal Women's Podcast or something like that, how they had she brought out, like one of them brought out a agreement written on a typewriter between the two of them when they started Rodan and Fields. And like, apparently they tried to pitch it to Neutrogena, and Neutrogena turned them down, which was like a good thing. But yeah. It was just funny. Like, you hear these like stories of these businesses that are like huge, and you're like, yeah, it started from two people and they wrote an agreement on a typewriter between the two of them.
And I will say, like, partnership has not always been easy. And honestly, when we wrote so in chiropractic school, you have to do we're in business classes throughout school. And at the end, you have to write a business plan. And we wrote this plan together, and you wouldn't believe how many people tried to deter us from actually going into practice together, which we're both kind of competitive. So that was almost like watch us make it happen. But it's like a marriage. You definitely have to work at it for sure. But it's been good overall for sure.
That's interesting that people are like, don't go into business together. So what did you both say to each other? Did you just be like, oh, we're just going to do it? Or like, what do you say to yourself to like get through that?
Well, we learned over the period of time that people are trying to deter us from it. And honestly, I think it's maybe a very specific to chiropractic kind of issue, that people didn't really plan for what the end would look like. So a lot of these relationships had of people that were partners previously had dissolved, or it just ended up nasty. So with those experiences, we learned like we need to have set parameters of like expectations for each of us. What does it look like if one of us wants to be done with this business and all of that kind of stuff, so that the expectations are clear of what each of us are doing and expected to do, so that we don't maybe necessarily run into some of the same issues that these people that were trying to tell us not to do it had done.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of the times people don't expect things to go wrong. But, naturally, like you said, it's like a marriage, and in a marriage, things, everyone doesn't always agree.
Right. And people evolve, and our business has evolved, and our vision has shifted a little bit. But overall, I feel like the effort that we've put into it on the front end has paid off on this end.
So for people listening, if you don't mind sharing, did you, like the Rodan and Fields people, did you write something down, or was it more like an oral agreement?
So we had like the most basic legal agreement early on. Let's see, it was probably like 2-3 years ago that we sat down with a lawyer, and we've got like a solid 75-page buy-sell agreement now. I mean, the ins and outs of it are all there and all the legalese, but we felt like we were at a point in our business where from a financial standpoint, we needed more backing of that kind of agreement than we did initially.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Start out with something simple, and then when the business evolves, because you started in 2012, right?
Correct. Yep.
So it's been, 8 years, which is amazing.
And when we started, so part of what brought us down to Rochester is there was a practice for sale, and we bought that practice thinking that it was, being told that it was a mostly chiropractic practice with a sprinkling of nutrition, counseling, and that kind of stuff in there. And it sounded like it would be a great fit. Well, it was not. That's not what it was after we bought it. And so we bought this practice on June 4th, and I had my first baby on June 18th. We had all moved down to Rochester. It was chaos, to say the least, but we made it through. So there was a lot of renegotiating and that kind of stuff, but and a name change and all of that. But here we are.
So you were literally at the throes of pregnancy and bought. It's incredible.
I don't like to think of all the things I did in 2012 at the same time. It gives me a little anxiety looking back, but everything happens for a reason. So
yeah. And timing, you can never things happen how they happen, right?
True. It's true.
So,
it was a learning experience.
Yeah. I don't get to talk to people too much actually who have purchased a pre-existing business. I'd love to learn a little. So, well, that's not 100% true, because I was talking to someone in passing the other week and they said they went through a business broker, but I think it's something people are interested in. So how did you find out that the business was for sale, and what did that kind of look like, especially in terms of like clients? So the clients come with the business, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So at the chiropractic school, we went to a school in Bloomington, and the school has brokers that kind of partner with the school that sell and buy, or negotiate the sales, I should say, of practices for chiropractic owners specifically. And so there's listings on the school's website for practices for sale, associate positions, equipment, all of that kind of stuff. So we discovered this practice through that, and then started working with the broker. Typically in the sale of chiropractic practices, unless they own the building itself, it's generally just you are purchasing a patient base. And so a lot of times there needs to be a transition of current owner kind of phasing out while the new owner is coming in order to make that transition be successful. With our purchase, we were promised some of that time, and then that never happened. So that was part of our issue. So we were able to retain a decent number of patients still, but it was not what we signed up for. That's for sure.
That is super unfortunate. You went from chiropractic school, purchased this business with your partner, jumped into it. Can you walk back 2012, which seems like some things you'd like to forget about that year?
Yes.
But can you walk through, you're starting a new business. What are some of the challenges you faced? What were some of the successes? How did you get through those as a new business owner? How did you learn how to overcome some of those challenges too?
Well, this is where having a business partner was really helpful, because we didn't have to do it alone. But a lot of the downfall in chiropractic education, in my opinion, is that we're not taught a lot of business skills in school. So a lot of that had to be learned just as things happened. We reached out to some mentors and fellow chiropractors while all of this was transpiring to get advice and what do we do? Another caveat to this story is that this practice was an office share with another chiropractor in town. So it was just a one-room space. that we shared like the reception area and the front desk staff. So there was some help in that aspect of the other chiropractor and her team that helped us through, but learn as you go. At that time, we were also chamber members. And so we just stuck to it and went to all the events and just trying to get as much advice and connection in the community as we possibly could.
Yeah. And it seems like with your business, you're really focused on families, especially getting kind of those pediatric patients as well. Was that similar to the previous practice? And if not, besides, getting out in the chamber and doing those kind of things, how did you get your name out there as a new business? I think that's something that like a lot of people listening always want to know about, especially on like shoestring budget.
Right. So I would say, no, that was not the style of practice that we purchased. In hindsight, honestly, I would have just started from scratch instead of purchasing in this particular situation. But as our own families grew and just the phase and stage of life that we were in, that's kind of what honed us into the style of practice that we have now. As far as the question in regards to getting our name out there and making those connections, we did all the chamber stuff. A few years down the road, we joined Master Networks and did some of that style of connecting. But honestly, it's been a lot of word of mouth and just asking people to share their stories of their experience here in our office. And I don't know, I think people really value what happens within our walls, and it maybe is a different kind of experience than they've had previously or at other locations. And so it's a story people are excited to share. And so we just try to prompt people to do so. And I think early on in our practice, social media wasn't really as popular as it is now, but in regards to like current early stage entrepreneurs, I would utilize that till the cows come home for sure. I think early on in our practice could have looked a lot different had that been more of a thing back then.
Yeah, I agree. Word of mouth is definitely, people value, like you're saying, other people's experiences and their positive experiences and trusting that. And yeah, it's a lot slower than people would want it to work, but it works and it retains people.
Right. I feel like it's a little bit more sustainable than the quick or higher turnover kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. Then you find really the best clients for you.
Right. And I mean, early on, obviously you're trying to make sure you're profitable, right? So we were more, quote unquote, willing to see whoever wanted to come in. But the more that we did that, the more kind of energy sucking that was at the same time, because those weren't always the people that I resonated with the most, or felt like I was getting kind of that return energy back in. And so the more I have niched down into who I really want to see, the more energized and just better I feel about the amount of work that I put into this space.
Yeah, no, and that's so true. It's hard in the beginning when you're like, you just want to get people in the door and make money and pay your bills. But, the more you get established and you really understand who you want to serve, and like you said, who you're drawing energy from and make sense with the mission of your business, then yeah.
Right.
That really gets exciting and yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Drives into the mission. You've been running this business, Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness, for 8 years here in the community. Can you talk about how has the business changed, which I'm sure has been an immense change from 2020 to today? What have been some major things that just stand out to you?
So we started off 2020. Actually, we do an annual planning meeting. Usually it's in like November, early December of the year prior. So first week of December 2019, we had lofty goals for 2020 and all these like in-person events that we were going to do and all the things. And it all came to a screeching halt that second week of March. And a lot has had to change in regards to like just keeping people safe. And I feel like there was a lot of unknowns, obviously, in regards to what could we do, what couldn't we do. There wasn't a ton of guidance for our industry in particular. And so we just kind of defaulted to what we felt good about doing. And we really scaled back in who we would even allow in the office to be seen, probably down to about 30% of who we typically see in a given day or week. And that lasted until about mid-April. And then we just kind of have scaled back up. We're back to full capacity now, and we just keep up on cleaning and spreading people out as much as possible. But it's been kind of interesting to watch people's, I wouldn't call it buying habits, but in a sense, like how they feel about coming in here and who we have seen now. I feel like from a pediatric standpoint, I've seen an increase in the kind of things that come in now, like say, for instance, ear infection or something along those lines, where the parent would have brought their child to the pediatrician prior typically to coming to our office, whereas now it's vice versa, because they want to avoid going into the clinic or whatever as much as possible. And just people's overall philosophy on health has been interesting to watch that kind of change and evolve over the last year, where I'm seeing people valuing maybe a little bit more of the day-to-day things that they do to take care of themselves, and including chiropractic care in on that, especially to help mitigate the stress of the last year as well.
Interesting. So you've seen a focus more on like overall wellness and almost preventative care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to wait till I get sick and I'm going to take my kid to the pediatrician, which they don't want to go into because who knows like what's in the pediatrician's office.
Right. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now it's been even honestly even busier than it was pre-COVID, which is a challenge in and of itself, in the trying to still keep it safe and whatnot. But we think we figured it out.
So people are definitely comfortable coming in now.
Yeah, which I love hearing. It really makes my heart happy that we have done a good enough job for them to feel safe coming into our office, when sometimes they won't even, go to the retail store or out to eat, but feel safe coming here, which makes me happy.
Yeah. So you've gone from yourself and your co-founder, Dr. Beth, to now having a team of 6. So it's always a challenge adding people to your team. So how did you find these individuals, and what, for people listening who are looking to add people to their team, what are some things they should keep in mind in terms of how to look for a hire and how to integrate new people into their business?
Yeah. So when we did our first hire, we had moved out of our original office share arrangement into our own physical space. And I like to think of hiring new people as an investment. It's going to be money to pay them up front, but we have always seen our return be way greater because of what that team member has been able to add to our business. And so in regards to searching for those people, the starting point has been what are we looking for from a personality standpoint, from a skill set standpoint, and then kind of working our way back. The first few hires that we had were from, I don't think Indeed existed at the time, but something similar, like just job site, look for all of, or put our listing out there and see who responds. Everyone after that has been a patient of ours, or word of mouth of, hey, we're looking if you know of someone. And as of right now, all of them have had experience as a patient in our office prior to starting. And actually, I take that back. We've got one that has not. But regardless, it's been like we are looking for a specific criteria. We have used strength finders in our interview process and have seen, I got this chart from a previous coach of mine who like laid out all of the different strengths, and then we can plot our team in there. I'm a very type A person, if you can't tell. And then there's X's across the chart of what strengths each team member has, and we can find our holes of what we are potentially looking for and need to help make us more well-rounded. But overall, I think we've had some bad hires too, and that has just been a learning experience of what not to do, essentially.
The Strength Finders is super interesting. We did that when we had, started as a team of 3, and 2 of us were very, very similar.
Yeah.
And one was very much the opposite. And then, it's so important to have those opposite people because, like you said, it fills the gaps. It gives you a different way to think about things, really, to make a better overall group, product, service, whatever.
For sure. And I've realized in my type A-ness, I have a hard time delegating. So if I can find someone in a team member that has a skill set that is not my strong suit, that it's easier for me to be able to delegate that, different tasks to someone that could probably do it better than I can. Yeah. Even though I think I can do everything.
Oh God, I've given up on that a long time ago. I know people can do things a lot better than me and I just get tired. So I'm like, please do it. Just do it. Run with it.
Yes, for sure.
What are you, at Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness, things are opening up a little bit more in 2021. What are you and the team looking forward to doing this year or accomplishing this year as a whole?
That's a great question. We have some big changes on the horizon that we'll announce later this year, but I really would love to be able to get people connected in our office more, doing some in-person events towards the end of the year. We celebrate our 9th birthday in June and we celebrate big. So last year we weren't able to really do anything because of the timing. And so hopefully we'll be able to do more of that. But yeah, just more in-person stuff would be my goal and my hope as things start to open back up.
I feel like in June will be perfect timing for a big 9th birthday celebration. So early congrats. This will definitely come out way before June. So people can check in with you to learn more about that. I always like to ask people, I think you talked about it a little bit. Why are you passionate about this? Why were you drawn? What do you love getting out of doing this every day, running your own business? What drives you to do this?
An entrepreneur aspect of things, I just love being able to reap the full benefits of what I put in. Obviously, being a business owner is hard work for sure. And you definitely most of the time work more than your 40-hour 9-to-5 person. But when you enjoy what you do, it doesn't always feel like work. And I love being able to see that just in all capacities, I should say, financially, how I feel inside, and being able to have, one of my core values is freedom. So being able to have the freedom to make the decisions and the freedom to be able to take time off when I want to take time off, the freedom to be able to spend time with my family, just all those different things, I think are why I enjoy being an entrepreneur so much from a chiropractic aspect of things. I love being able to see people's lives changed and hear about it. Especially in this last year, lives, mine included, have been stressful, and to see the power of what a chiropractic adjustment can do to help with the body's stress response, and then be able to see symptoms go away or be more at ease, less anxious, sleeping better, all of those things. It's to see how much we can impact an individual's or a family's life is irreplaceable.
Yeah, I feel like stress levels have been at an all-time high this past year, so it has to be super rewarding to see, that pain relieved, and especially in kids, and let them get on with their lives.
Right. Yeah, it's been kind of sad to see just the depression and anxiety in the kids that I have been working with as newer patients to our office with this shutdown of schools, depending on which school district they're in and all of that. And just how their bodies respond to stress so differently, or they can't even verbalize what they're feeling inside. It's sad. It's really sad. But to see lives turn around with some easy changes is really, really good.
Absolutely. That was my final question for you. I'll ask you for any final thoughts, and where's the best place for people to find you both in person and online?
Final thoughts. If you aren't seeing a chiropractor, you should see a chiropractor. No, I would just say, from a person that is potentially wanting to be a entrepreneur or is a struggling entrepreneur, listen to your gut, and you can do it. And where you can find us or me, we are on all the social platforms. My fave is Instagram. So I am personally at Dr.Abby_Splits. My best friend said that I need the period in between that because it looks like drabby splits. So I was like, noted. And our business page is Rochester Chiro. But we like to have fun on there and showcase the ins and outs of our office.
Well, thanks so much for taking time to do this today. I really appreciate it, and hearing more about your story and your journey.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much to Dr. Abby for taking time out of her schedule to chat with us today and having a great conversation about what it was like for her and her business partner to launch and scale their business. You can find some of the links that Dr. Abby talked about, including how to connect with Rochester Chiropractic and Wellness, in our show notes. So that's a wrap for our podcast today. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending some of your time today with us, learning more about Rochester business people. It's a major help to us if you subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen in, and make sure you rate the podcast so that others can find us. We'll see you here next Wednesday with a brand new episode.